progress through the session. Really, the session today is to cover how we can use different technologies and business models, to cover different technologies and the business models that they enable. So in terms of different technologies that businesses use within their organizations, how are they helping to enable higher levels of performance, higher levels of competitiveness? How are they really using technology to differentiate and drive their businesses forward? And how does that help them outcompete their competitors? So what we'll really be doing throughout this webinar is looking at different technologies, the way organizations are using them, but really the main areas of technology that are really driving competitiveness at the moment. And really, I want to focus on three broad areas. One is around connected devices. So the common term that people use to explain what a connected device is normally the Internet of Things. So you've probably heard a lot about that, but really connected devices are really transforming the way businesses are developing products, interacting with their customers, and ultimately driving the competitiveness of their businesses. The second area is all around artificial intelligence. Again, a word that you will no doubt hear being used quite often, can mean lots of different things to different people, but we'll focus on really its practical and pragmatic implementation within businesses in such a way that will drive competitiveness. And then the third area, which is probably one of the areas that isn't as mainstream in terms of its use at the moment, but will certainly become more mainstream over the coming years, and that's all around augmented reality, and actually how are businesses using augmented reality to drive their competitiveness moving forward. Okay. So we'll start with connected devices. And apologies if I start off being a bit Janet and John, but I thought it's important just to really explain what we mean by connected devices. So I'll start off with in each one of these areas with a description of what it is, just accepting that people will be coming at this at different points. But what it is, exactly what those technologies are, but then most importantly, we'll then run into some examples of how businesses are using connected devices to differentiate and drive their performance moving forward. So connected devices, I suppose that to a certain extent, it's a bit of a Ron Seal approach. They do what they say on the tin. They're objects, hardware that connect to each other and systems via the internet. So ultimately, it's a bit of hardware or software that's connected to the internet. Most people have connected devices. They use them in their daily lives and daily interactions. So your smartphones are connected device, smart TVs are connected devices. Increasingly, vehicles are connected devices. I don't know if anyone's lucky enough to own a Tesla, but Tesla's, the software is actually updated on the cloud and via mobile internet connections. So, vehicles increasingly, and certainly new vehicles tend to be connected. Thermostats, I'm sure a lot of you have smart thermostats where you can actually use it to monitor your house remotely and to change the temperature remotely. Wearables, so Fitbits and Garmin's and all these wonderful things. And then household appliances, it could be they're connected to the internet to help to diagnose performance issues, or it could be that they're connected to the internet to do things like food ordering. So I'm sure you've all heard about fridges where once you actually run out of something like tomato sauce or butter, you can reorder it via your fridge. So a lot of innovations and a lot of developments in terms of connected devices. What's important about connected devices, however, is actually the possibilities that they open up to businesses. Quite often, if we run through the technologies that we're focusing on today, so connected devices, artificial intelligence, augmented realities, it tends to be first and foremost the big businesses who are investing in these technologies. But they're making the investment, and increasingly these technologies are really accessible for smaller companies. So they've kind of, I suppose, invested the R&D budgets, and people are now developing applications and interfaces and APIs and software that actually means that small companies can not almost plug and play to a certain extent. So one of the things that connected devices are really driving is almost the drive away from one-off purchases, one-off product sales, to models that are more about subscription or the sale of ongoing services, or pay-by-use based models. If you have a device that is connected to the internet, or I mean, and I'll come into some examples of that, but of course you can monitor usage. So rather than people paying an upfront cost for the hardware or the physical good, actually, could you generate reoccurring revenues via actually charging based on the use and how people actually using the technology. The other thing is it's the devices, I'd say, are collecting data, and again that just unlocks a whole range of different possibilities. Can really get a granular understanding of how people are interacting with your product, services, and business, and really drive that to open up new channels of new areas of revenue. So that's just a bit of background. One of the real game changers, so we've seen a huge increase in the amount of connected devices that we use, both in a B2B and a business to consumer level. However, there's going to be another transformation in how we develop and deliver and use connected devices, and that'll be through the introduction of 5G networks. That's really going to mean that those devices can be connected 24/7 through a high-speed, super-fast connection all the time. So that's where we'll really start to see innovations in smart homes, so how we're interacting with our homes when we're in our home, but also when we're away from our home, how we can allow other people to interact with our homes as well, and grant permission for people maybe to leave parcels and all those sort of things. We've then got the use of augmented and virtual reality. That's an area that I'll cover in a bit more depth, but I think it's actually quite an exciting time for augmented and virtual reality, because I think 5G will open up a whole new host of possibilities for the way we use that technology. We've then got a whole point of how we access and stream content. What surveys say is that around about 40% of people, they don't really tend to stream content when they're away from their home or away from their permanent broadband connection, just due to quality issues, etc. So the way we access and interact with content will be transformed. Smart cities. Sure, you've all driven on a smart motorway where it's actually monitoring the volume of the volume of traffic and setting speed limits accordingly. We'll see the management of cities and the way we interact with cities will increasingly be driven by sensors and monitoring the way people are interacting with cities, and that's something that we will be seeing an acceleration of, including smart buildings within those cities. And then I've already mentioned on this, but vehicles are increasingly connected. But the next wave of innovation will be around autonomous vehicles, and how vehicles will become driverless to a certain extent. And things like 5G are really going to drive that development. So these are things that we're all currently interacting with, but we will be interacting with at a much greater extent as we move forward. One moment, just going to the chat just to make sure that everything is still okay and there's no questions on there. Sorry, my system's just interacting with the Ring Central software in a bit of a bizarre way today, so I'm going to have to keep coming off the presentation just to check the chat, so that's okay. But please do, if there's any audio issues, please just drop it into the chat, and I will periodically check that. So let's think about some examples of what a connected device is. So what you will see on your screen at the moment is the example of the Hewlett-Packard Instant Ink. I don't know if you've experienced this, but basically the way it works, it's connected to your Wi-Fi, your broadband connection. So it's connected to the HP servers, and basically they're monitoring the level of your ink in your printer. The business model tends to be to work on the basis that that they'll monitor your ink. They'll actually sell the printer itself at a really low and loss leader price. It's what I would tend to term the razor blade model, where they're selling the actual razor at a really reduced price because they want to extract revenue and value and profit out of customers through the ongoing sale of the razor blades themselves. So that's really the model that Hewlett-Packard are developing here. So they'll monitor the level of ink that you're using, but when that gets low, they'll then send you some new ink, and you sign up to a subscription service to deal with that. And again, this is the type of business model that we're seeing more and more of. So in terms of the way they're delivering value, the connected device will automatically trigger the delivery of cartridges when required. Payments taken automatically based on optimum pricing. So the way it works is you'll initially sign up to some sort of pricing pricing agreement, which will be based on what you think what volume of ink you think that you're going to use, and essentially that will be adjusted based on your actual usage, and basically means that you're getting the best price. The way Hewlett-Packard capture value is they sell the printer at a loss as a loss leader. Again, just that's pretty much the razor blade model. They capture value through locking customers into the repeat purchase of genuine Hewlett-Packard parts. So if you think about the way, or certainly I or people tend to buy ink, rarely will people go back, when they bought a printer, go back and actually buy the genuine ink cartridges, because they're just a lot more expensive. But what Hewlett-Packard are doing here is essentially locking people into buying genuine parts, and because they're going to, on the back of that, generate more volumes in terms of product sales, they can be more competitive in terms of the costing structure that they put in place. That then drives reoccurring revenue streams that they can obviously are highly predictable. So helps to really I suppose helps them to understand where they can invest into the future and at what levels, which is really important for innovation and products based companies like Hewlett-Packard. And ultimately, it's increasing the lifetime value of the customer. So that's what it means to Hewlett-Packard. So obviously, a very I suppose beneficial and preferable business model that they've developed there. But for the customer, and this is a really important bit, it's actually got to drive value to the customer as well as the company, obviously. And this is where it allows them to stand out from the crowd, to outcompete other people developing printers. And so for the customer, the benefit is that they never run out of ink. So they're not having to suddenly run out to Tesco's and buy an ink cartridge because it suddenly ran out. Hopefully they're going to spend less on ink throughout the course of a year, say. And And I think that the other thing is it's been an increasingly popular model through the current situation that we're in with COVID-19 and the increased use of home workers. I think, well, no, Hewlett Packard have seen a real kind of spike in people interacting and actually and actually signing up for the instant ink service because of that convenience angle. In terms of how this changes things and how it changes the competitive landscape, basically it disrupts traditional printer manufacturers who don't have connected devices. You know, I think there is an element of catch up here, and most people will catch up. But hopefully Hewlett Packard will be on to the next innovation after that. Obviously, it disrupts the sale of ink cartridges, so people who are refilling cartridges and not selling the genuine parts, it's obviously going to disrupt them. So quite a disruptive, simple business model. So I'm just going to make sure there's no questions in the chat. Great, excellent. We shall progress. As I say, any issues, please just highlight it in the chat. The next example here, and I'm sure that some of you will have these, but they're what we're looking at here are connected doorbells, doorbells and video enabled doorbells. So typically the two market leaders here are the Nest and the Ring. What do they do actually? Well, the video doorbell is connected to the internet. It continuously monitors home and cloud storage backup. So when it both systems, they work slightly differently, but essentially when they pick up motion, it will trigger the video, and that'll be stored and backed up. I say work slightly differently in terms of the technology, but that's fundamentally what they're doing. So it's a doorbell, but it's also a video camera. In terms of the way Nest and Ring work, again, they're driving reoccurring revenue streams through subscription plans. So because the doorbells are constantly videoing the house and picking up motion, actually what you need is to store that video. So to do that, you use their cloud storage platforms and the subscription plans that run alongside those. So Ring and Nest, they actually charge quite a bit of money. So it could be £200-300 for the actual purchase of the doorbell and the video camera itself. So it's not quite the razor blade or the Hewlett Packard model. But they're getting that. But then, so they're getting the upfront revenue from the purchase of the hardware, but they are also getting reoccurring revenue via the storage plan. So again, really interesting business model, and something that people interact with. People are getting more used to actually paying a set amount every month for software and services. So this is something that we're increasingly seeing. I'm sure, just going back to one of the early examples around autonomous vehicles, that will ultimately be where the car industry ends up at some point as well. It will be pay per mile or pay per use that they'll ultimately become the future model there. In terms of, and I think through the video doorbell example, perhaps the most interesting part is when we look at value creation from the point of view of the customer, because it actually helps people to interact in the digital world and the way we buy and purchase and order goods and services now. So one of the main advantages is that the doorbells actually help us manage online deliveries. So never miss a delivery again. There's some add-ons to the doorbells that actually allow you to do things like open storage boxes, or actually open your front door to let people in and out. That could be a tradesman or someone actually delivering a package. So really helpful service that's solving what we'd probably call a modern day problem. The other thing is security devices. They give people peace of mind. So if they're away from the house. They can actually monitor their house. They can, they can through their app log onto the video and actually see what's going on at the house, if there's been motion picked up, etc. And some insurance companies use that to reduce insurance costs as well. So maybe they'll get a bit of that money back that they're investing in the ongoing subscription. It disrupts traditional doorbell manufacturers, but also security system manufacturers and installers. This is a different type of security system. Just touch on another example. This is actually a relatively small company in the north of England, and what they do, they have developed it's almost like a Kanban supply chain solution for manufacturing companies, and essentially it's almost like a vending machine for consumables. So this company actually started off, their main market was actually delivering or fulfilling or providing industrial tape to manufacturers largely across the north of England, and they've moved into a much wider long tail consumable market where they're offering a lot more products, but they now do it almost through a vending machine that sits in the manufacturers. So when someone requires a consumable, so it could be industrial tape, just to use that example, or a pen, or whatever it may be, or a certain widget that's needed for the manufacturing process, they go to the vending machine. They've got a special fob that unlocks it. The vending machine knows who's actually unlocked a certain drawer. They know who's actually taken a good or a product out of that drawer. And at that point, it then bills the customer. So all the goods that are within there, excuse me, I think the company wouldn't like me using the word vending machine, but it's probably the easiest way of describing it. But essentially, what the stock, until it's actually removed in a compliant way by someone in that manufacturing factory, remains the property of the vendor. And it's only when it's removed that the companies actually charge, a bit like a minibar as well, in the way that would work in a hotel. And this is a company that one of the fastest growing companies in the north of England at the moment. They're absolutely flying on the back of this technology. So they're delivering, their standard goods and service in a very, very different way. A couple of other things just to highlight. Obviously, once an item's removed, it's then monitored and replenished when the time is right. The system links to an online store, so people can order new parts. They can take out a new product line and ask for that to be supplied through the system, and so on and so forth. In terms of the way the company capture value, it increases customer lock-in to current and future stock requirements. So obviously, once they've invested in that system, there's an upfront cost that they invest in. But once they're invested in it, it's very sticky, I suppose, as a model, and difficult to move away from. So there's increased customer lock-in. They obviously get revenue through product sales, and it's predictable as well. It is predictable in a way that they will build up a real granular understanding of when their customers are using certain products, the frequency of certain products. There's a real depth of data that the company Evolution are actually building up, that's again going to put them in a much stronger position where they can service customers based on their individual circumstances and needs. We've then got the whole area of value creation, and so for the customer's point of view, they can flexibly change stock requirements. So maybe they don't require a certain type of tape anymore, so they'll make sure that through the online store, make sure that it's that they've replaced it with the new requirements. Obviously, because they're not purchasing a load of stock up front, it releases cash. So its own, as I say, they only own that piece of stock when it's removed from the the vending solution. So again, it's releasing working capital and cash, reducing waste, and all those sort of things that we would expect. And in terms of where it disrupts, it's disrupting traditional consumable B2B retailers and wholesalers and stockists of manufacturing consumables. So sorry, just log off. Just make sure that we've got no one on the chat highlighting anything. Okay. Very good. So I take all is good there with the just the final example on connected devices is something called Metro Mile. And again, I'm sure that you've all seen or you're all aware that increasingly people like insurance companies are monitoring vehicles, and this is really an insurance company taking I suppose the ability to monitor a vehicle and the way people are driving to a new level. So what Metro Mile do, they've developed in partnership with a technology company an enhanced sensor that essentially monitors the car. So it will monitor the number of miles that a car will do, as well as driver behaviour. What they do, they use that information to drive an insurance model that's based on usage. So basically, users of their insurance are actually paying per mile rather than a flat fee per se. Another thing is the app. It provides a car locator and driving stats information, so people can understand more about their driving behaviours, etc. And then the other thing, and this is a new innovation, I've introduced something called Metro Mile Plus that actually monitors the car's performance to offer predictive maintenance information. So if a tolerance is going out, or maybe they can, so that's indicating that maybe a timing belt about to go, or the heat pump's not working as efficiently as it should be. The sensor picks all that type of information up, so it's actually monitoring the performance of a car in such a way that it can predict maintenance requirements. The way the company gather revenue, there is actually a standard fee, so there's a low monthly standard payment that users pay, but it's much lower than what you would normally associate with an insurance premium. Then there'll be a payment for each mile travelled, and again that's tiered based on the amount of miles you're doing, and because the device is connected, almost similar to instant ink, the exact premium is flexed to be most beneficial for the customer. And in terms of Metro Mile Plus, so this innovation where they're monitoring cars, it now actually has unlocked a whole new service, a new revenue stream around mechanics. So actually, if your car is about to break down, then what it will do, it will link you to one of the Metro Mile mechanics who can service and obviously deal with that particular issue. So they're not only now an insurance company, they're also a mechanics or a garage. In terms of the benefit to the actual user, what it allows them to do is manage their and reduce insurance costs in a much more dynamic way. And if they're not using their car that much, so their insurance costs will go down. So I'm sure a lot of people have seen vastly reduced costs through the current lockdown situation. However, people who are on the standard flat rate insurance policy will have had a fixed cost through that time. The sensor actually can locate the car, so you'll never lose your car in the car park again. You can find it on the app. And then the other thing is there's almost a sense of peace of mind where people can because they know that their car's being monitored for reliability, and if something does go wrong, they can very quickly be signposted to a mechanic. in terms of who this disrupts is traditional car insurance providers, garages and mechanics. And I suppose the other one that I haven't put on there is actually people like the AA and the RAC. The Metro Mile Plus service is really replicating that. So again, some multiple areas of disruption potentially there. So some questions, and not to answer now necessarily, but just some things for you to think about in terms of your own businesses. How could connected devices help your business to stand out from the crowd? That's ultimately what we're looking at today. Could you, if you could connect devices, products and services, could they apply to your business, or could you almost take some of the learnings from the business type of business models that have been enabled through connected to devices to implement things like subscription-based models, outcome-based models, so similar to actually paying by use. There's other things that we haven't touched on, like automated robots. Could you look at adopting something like the razor blade model, the ways that you could monetize data that you would be collecting? Could you move to an as a service model where you're, again, leveraging ongoing revenue for the delivery of a service, and so on and so forth. So just some things to think about. I think it's, less actually about the technology, but probably more about the possibilities that connected devices can open up in terms of the type of business model that you can implement. So just check the chat here. No questions. Not picking any questions up yet. If you have got a question, please feel free to put it in the chat. But if not, I will continue. Okay, great. I'll take it with it because we've got no questions. I'll progress to the next stage. So what we'll look at now is the second point that's all around artificial intelligence. So, this is where we're thinking, quite often it's almost, the sci-fi world of robots kind of taking over and things is often some of the thoughts that come straight to people's minds when we start talking about things like artificial intelligence. But I don't think it's that as sinister as that, or not at least at the moment. And essentially, what do we mean by artificial intelligence? And what a classic definition would be is that they're machines or computers that mimic cognitive functions. So they mimic the way human minds work, that are associated with the human mind, such as learning and problem solving and decision making. I suppose is within that as well. So they're essentially performing tasks that we would normally associate to requiring or being reliant on the way the human mind works to process information and ultimately make decisions based on that. So it's largely about processing information and arriving at conclusions. In terms of where I tend to think about where the real benefit for artificial intelligence is, at the moment it tends to be around the automation of simple and repetitive tasks and processes. So where there's something where it's very repetitive, it's relatively simple, needs a bit of thought, but it's not too complex, they tend to be the areas where artificial intelligence is being really leveraged by companies. Similar to connected devices, there's been a lot of investment in artificial intelligence, and there's actually a lot of cloud-based softwares that are really accessible for for small businesses to interact with. So artificial intelligence is actually becoming really, really accessible. And chances are, if you're using things like the Google cloud-based infrastructure, chances are that a lot of the technologies that you need to begin the automation journey are probably already available to you in your business. So there's things like Google's cloud vision software, etc., which can be leveraged. And actually, we're through the Humber Growth Hub, we're in the associated programs are actually supporting some companies to get the best out of those type of technologies at the moment. But ultimately, what they allow businesses to do is to reduce operational costs, increase efficiency, grow revenue, and improve the customer experience, all things that lead or can lead to competitive advantage. So in terms of the technologies that would typically associate with artificial intelligence, you'll tend to hear words like machine learning. So how can, through computers and data, how can we make sense of that to start to make predictions? So if you're a business and actually you implement a marketing strategy in a certain way, or you use a bit of software to run your social media campaigns, through collecting data over a lot of different companies who are doing those things, you could probably start to predict the type of results that people are going to get. So we can start to see, if you start to predict if a company does X, Y, and Z, they're probably going to do better than a company who doesn't do that. And again, we'll talk about some examples there. Got natural language generation, which we're seeing increasingly. So that'll be things like chatbots, which are increasing in popularity, and that will use NLG technology. Got speech recognition, so I'm sure we're all interacting with Siri and Alexas and this, that, and the other. So speech recognition is increasingly being used. Virtual agents, decision-making engines, and robotic process automation are all things that are really driven by artificial intelligence. So what I'm doing now, just to give you a bit of an example of how artificial intelligence is being used in the financial industry. I'm just going to play this video that talks about an American organisation called Betterment, who are essentially a financial wealth management company historically. Because of the issues I'm having with the system, can I ask that you just turn the volume on your computers up? Just because it's not enabling me to share the volume directly from my computer. So you're actually going to hear it through my speakers. So if you could just do that now, and I will I'll play the video. But be useful as well, just from the chat function, if you could just let me know if it works. Could you actually hear the sound or not after as well? So I'll play the video now.
The smart, modern way to invest, as explained by actual employees. Hello, with no financial jargon.
Always like a paper map. You have to figure out how to get from yourself. You have no idea whether or not there's better than a GPS. We help you get to where you need to go, and we use technology so that you can just enjoy the ride.
Nice. How does it work?
You come to Betterment and you tell us what you're saving for. Retirement, vacation, home down payment.
Oh, those are cool.
Oh, cool. We take all this information and make recommendations about how much you should invest with us initially, how much you should save over time, the type of risk you should take. From there, the technology makes you personalized portfolios of stock, bond, ETFs based on our...
Little help here?
Okay, it's like having a team of chefs who make delicious, well-balanced meals based on your preferences. Like, you only eat organic.
But why should I choose Betterment?
We're a fiduciary.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah, fiduciary is a strange word, but it's a simple concept. It means that we are bound to do what's right for our clients.
Fantastic. Okay, Nick, can you tell us more?
The technology of Betterment is designed to take all of the complicated processes that go into building the portfolio and streamline them so that you don't really have to worry about it.
Can you use an analogy?
Kind of like a pizza, right?
Not at all like a pizza. No. How much does it cost?
The annual fee of Betterment is 25 basis points. Account with like 20.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, fiduciary is a strange word, but it's a simple concept. It means that we are bound to do what's right for our clients.
The fee of Betterment is 25 basis points. On an account with $100,000, like $20 per month, which is a fraction of the cost of what you would pay for traditional financial services. Plus, there's no hidden fee.
So you're saying Betterment is the smart, modern way to invest?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a lot easier.
Well done.
So there we go. There's Betterment. Could someone just let me know that works okay? Yeah. So the audio seems to be fine. So hopefully you could hear that. I'm asking that question because there's a few other videos as well. So so it's useful to know that you can hear that okay. So that was Betterment. I think a useful example of how a company is really using artificial intelligence to drive their competitiveness. So just to recap, what Betterment do is they use artificial intelligence to automate the investment and portfolio selection process based on a client's investment goals. So, and of course, those investment goals can change over time. So people can adjust those through the app, and then their portfolio will change based on the risk and the reward that they're willing to accept or looking for, or the frequency in terms of when they're looking for that return. But so you've got the artificial intelligence that is scanning all the different investment options and their performance over time, and then it's trying to, based on risk, associated risks, etc., and return information, making the best possible portfolio decisions for the client. In terms of the way Betterment capture value is that there's a low fee, so this is much lower than the traditional wealth management firms, but there's a low fee based on a percentage of the assets under management. So the total value of the investments that a user has made, they leverage a fee based on that, which is I think around about 2.4%, so it's relatively low. There is, however, a premium option, so where they charge a higher fee and give access to a physical advisor for people who want that. And then the other thing is the platform. They, in terms of channels to market, they actually make it available, their platform, to traditional wealth management and financial advisors, so they can actually use it to service their clients and help their clients manage their portfolio, which has given them a new access to client, and also a bit of return in terms of license fees, etc. So there's a multi-revenue based model in play here. In terms of the value creation that actually creates for the user or the investee or the customer, is it provides them a low cost and diversified experience in one platform. So it's all in one platform, very visible, and it's low cost as well, and hopefully giving them the outcomes that they are looking for. And as I mentioned earlier, as circumstances change, the customer's very much in control. So they could do it on a daily basis. They could change the risk and the return on information if they wanted to. But I think the important thing is that they're very much in control, and they can change the settings in terms of their portfolio as and when required. So what that disrupts is traditional wealth management and financial advisors. This is an example, and this is me on the screen here having a bit of play about with the software here. But this is a tool that Ole use, and essentially what this is doing, it's a new way of using artificial intelligence and facial recognition software to help people make decisions about the type of products that they should be using based on their skin type. I was a bit upset when I used this actually, because I'm only 41 and it actually said I've got the skin age of 48, so there's obviously something wrong with the camera on my laptop. That's what I'm putting that down to. But essentially what it does, it looks at your skin type, make sense of that through the facial recognition software, looking at quality and across all different things. So it'll look at the forehead, the cheeks, the eyelids, and all those sort of things, and then it makes product recommendations. So again, very interactive way that Ole are using artificial intelligence to drive their business model. So I mentioned what it does. Really simple, I suppose, in terms of a model. The benefit for Ole is that it improves their customer experience, where people are probably used traditionally to going into a department store and interacting with a beauty assistant to talk about the different products based on their skin type. Actually, it's almost replacing that customer experience via an online facility. And because of that, it's obviously increasing product sales and repeat purchase as well, as people are going back and I suppose reanalyzing or re-diagnosing their skin. Because I suppose, well, one thing you would help, you've been using these products and have made some form of difference. And one of the key benefits is because of the software, it's actually enabling or giving people confidence that they've actually made the right choice in terms of the cream or makeup that they're using based on their skin type and condition. So maybe in a future webinar I can let you know how that's going, and hopefully I'll have a skin age a bit closer to a 41-year-old than a 48-year-old. I'll just the clunkiness of my approach here, but just want to make sure that that there's no questions or anyone asking or raising any issues on the chat. So another example here, and this is a really interesting one actually, because there's not giving too much away, but there's actually in relation to the grow my SME service and the ICT program. There's actually a company who are working on something quite similar to this in a slightly different field within the Humber region, which is really exciting, and no doubt something that you'll hear a lot more about in the next 6 months or so. But this is a company called Pager, and essentially what they're doing, they're using artificial intelligence to streamline the healthcare service. So helping people to diagnose minor issues, minor illnesses and minor kind of aches and pains, but using artificial intelligence in terms of looking at, I suppose, historic patient information to try and spot trends based on the symptoms that are being displayed, using chatbots, but also enabling physical interactions with healthcare professionals as and when required. So these are some of the things that you could really see driving efficiency through the likes of the NHS. So mentioned, it deploys machine learning to analyse clinical and claims data to discover patient healthcare treatments, etc. Concierge service that helps patients schedule appointments and make payments. A lot of that's driven by chatbots. a language recognition software, and then you can actually chat with a nurse via text or talk to a doctor via video chat as and when required. In terms of the value that this delivers to healthcare professionals, is that it actually proven to save nurses up to 20% and doctors 17% of time that they could actually be using to treat more complex activities. So, some significant the potential in terms of healthcare. And then in terms of value creation, so the person actually needing or looking for treatment, connects and streamlines is the entire healthcare system for them. So rather than getting passed from pillar to post, their whole interaction is driven through one app, and their whole customer journey is managed through one app. And also, what that means is it saves time and makes the healthcare system much more easier to navigate and interact with. So, again, just managing the whole customer journey. And again, just with the caveat that this is really used for minor aches and pains and illnesses. Once it spots something that it thinks it will, maybe a bigger issue, then obviously that's where doctors and interactions with nurses, etc., come in. But hopefully it's taken, just trying to shield some of the less urgent activities away from the front line. Just thinking about things that you do on a daily basis. This is a bit of software called Albert, and this is actually all around managing pay-per-click advertising. So it's essentially a bit of marketing automation software that's helping people manage, deploy, and get the best results from pay-per-click advertising. So just to run through that, it's essentially automating a lot of mechanical marketing work. So that, as I'm sure you all know, there's a lot of analysis, a lot of I suppose human input into deciding what the parameters of an effective pay-per-click campaign should or shouldn't be. This software essentially automates that through the adoption of artificial intelligence. Because of that, just because of the sheer breadth of data that the software can analyse, it's identifying new channels that competitors aren't using. So in terms of standing out from the crowd, in terms of identifying where you can get your voice heard over and above competitors and in new customer segments and groups, this software will help you spot where those opportunities are. And the other thing it will do in terms of the way people are interacting with your website and your advertising campaigns, it will suggest ways that you can optimize layout to get better results, copywriting, targeting in terms of customer segments, etc., and also where you should be bidding and at what value, etc. So all that is all automated. The result is the theory is that will generate more leads and more sales, and also in places where your competitors maybe aren't leveraging as much value as they could be. And the other thing is it reduces costs of managing pay-per-click campaigns. So sorry if there's marketing agencies on the line here, but those kind of fees that people are paying every month for pay-per-click, maybe it reduces some of those. Equally a useful tool for marketing agencies to use, and I know that they do use tools like Albert because there's many others as well. So it disrupts potentially traditional digital agencies and also competitors who are using traditional and mechanical approaches to pay-per-click advertising. So just going to play you another video now, and this draws the kind of look at artificial intelligence to a close. So again, if you can just make sure that you've got your speakers turned up, not too loud to burst your eardrums, but certainly loud enough to hear that would be greatly appreciated. This video is actually, I thought we can't talk about artificial intelligence without featuring a robot. So this is actually what we call the low bot. So the low stores, think of B&Q. So it's almost an American equivalent of B&Q, but they've been investing in the use of robots to enhance the customer experience in their store. Important point here, and I think that although some of these examples are in relation to big companies, I think the important thing is to recognize they've made the investment. They've made these technologies a lot more accessible to smaller companies. They've done the heavy lifting. So as I say, even though the big company examples, you'll be amazed at just how accessible a lot of these technologies are for smaller businesses. So I'll just play the video for you now. If it would let me, I'll just go back and play the video again. Sorry for that.
You want to make your home better. Our job is to help you. So we're building new tools that help our associates help you better. We partnered with Flow Robots to bring you Lobot. We spent close to 2 years honing Lobot. Soon we come to Low stores to help you.
Hi, I'm looking for some paint.
You define something? Lobot can show you, and in multiple languages. Lobot also helps our team by constantly monitoring inventory, giving us daily feedback about what's in stock. All of this allows our staff to focus on what they do best, helping you.
Yeah. So that was a low bot. One of the things I really like about just some of the way that video actually positions this technology is the fact that it says that automating some of those more simpler tasks, like actually showing people where paint may be, or the paint that they're looking for may be on a shelf, etc. But or checking are the shelf stocked appropriately. It's actually saving staff time to invest in the higher added value tasks. So I think that's a really important thing to think about. If you can automate or some of the things that actually don't, a less added value, that don't mean as much to a customer, and allow that to actually invest more in the areas that do matter to a customer, so actually, but there's one thing finding where paint is, or the paint I want on a shelf. That's something that, I don't need, I don't need a huge degree of input from a person. I'm probably quite happy that a robot would show me that. But actually, if I've got questions about that paint, and actually would it be good on a certain wall surface, or could it use it out time, so more those the technical questions, or how would it go about performing a certain DIY task, that's the stuff that's really adding value to me, and that's the stuff that's delivering a great experience. So but because the robot's actually taking some, I suppose, saving time, then it's enabling people to add more value. So I think that's something really important. If you're automating something, where does it, where can you start to invest more and focus more attention so that you can actually raise the bar even further and over and above what a competitor would be capable of delivering. So I think that's something particular about the video that I really took away. So in terms of value delivery, the robots show customers to the locations that they're looking for, and it meets and greets and adds interaction and experience. The other thing that robot does, it actually scans the shelves to look at stock levels and all those sort of things. That increases productivity, so less time dealing with simple queries like, where do I find a certain screw or light bulb, and it allows employees to dedicate more time to dealing with more complex customer problems. From a customer point of view, I like that because it means that I don't have to, search the store looking for an employee who can actually show me to the right direction. There's two challenges quite often. Number one's finding the product that you're looking for, but number two is finding someone who can actually show you there. The robot will be more visible and more to hand, and probably can't go and hide as well. And actually the shelves will be better stocked as well, meaning that they're less likely to run out of what I need when I actually go to the shop. So in terms of questions around artificial intelligence, I think that the first one is, are you already using artificial intelligence technologies, and could you get more out of them? As I said right at the start, quite often people are actually using quite often already using technologies that have artificial intelligence capabilities built into them, or there'll be there'll be a way of integrating those technologies, as I say, through things like Microsoft 365 and Google Cloud. There's just multiple applications that you could probably use that are already integrated, already built to work with the applications that you're already using. So could you actually get more out of the technology that you've already got? This isn't about huge levels of investment. Are there simple and repetitive tasks that you've got employees carrying out at the moment that could be automated? That means to your customer experience. So what would that save that you could be focusing on more added value activities that customers care about and care more about? And ultimately, how would that help you stand out from the competition? So by focusing on those more added value areas, by driving efficiencies and automating some processes, how would it let you really focus on those areas that your competitors won't be able to? They won't be able to put the level of focus and attention into the areas that really matter to your customers that you do. And again, technology is there to release that time and allow you to focus on the things that matter most to you and your customers. So just have a quick check of the chat, and that no questions so far. I'll say if you have got any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat facility. We've got none in the Q&A. There's actually two areas here: the Q&A and the chat. So none in either. Fantastic. So what we'll now do then, we'll now focus on possibly the area that excites me most, and it's around augmented reality. As I said at the start of this presentation, augmented reality is probably the area where there's not as much mass adoption. Connected devices, artificial intelligence tend to be things that people are interacting with. If they're conscious of that or not, they're probably very used to interacting with connected devices and artificial intelligence driven processes and systems. Sometimes you'll be on a web chat and it'll be a chat bot, and it's that good that you just don't even know that you're not interacting with a real person. Augmented reality, I think, is an area where there's probably going to be real accelerated adoption over the coming years, and the possibilities in terms of really creating that wow factor in terms of the way you interact with customers, delivering things in a different, really engaging way, and the way people interact with your products and services could totally be revolutionised from the effective adoption of augmented reality. And I said right at the start, I think that one of the real game changers here will be the rollout of 5G networks. It's going to make it a lot more accessible. And like with connected devices and artificial intelligence, there's been a heck of a lot of investment in these technologies and the applications that drive them. And just like artificial intelligence and connected devices, they're actually pretty accessible to businesses. So you know, I think you would probably get it. This is an area that I'm quite excited about. In terms of a definition, what do we mean by augmented reality? It's an interactive experience of a real-world environment where the objects that reside in the real world are enhanced by computer-generated perceptual information. So basically, it means that as you interact and look at things in the real world, there'll be computer-based imagery that's supplementing that or helping you to do things that you ordinarily wouldn't do. I think one of the probably one of the most successful uses of application is Pokemon Go. So I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, and kids were constantly seen walking around the streets, doing strange things with their kind of noses to the ground, looking at a smartphone. But it's because they were in search of Pokemon, which was, in all intents and purposes, an augmented reality-driven application, Pokemon Go. So again, I'm just to play you a video, and this just really gives you some good examples of how people have used augmented reality to enhance marketing campaigns. I said I think that the certain ways that augmented reality can be used to really enhance the customer experience and the way we market our businesses. So again, I'll play you a video. Make sure you got your sound turned up, and hopefully you can hear this. So the chat again. Yeah, apologies. Apologies that the video didn't play as well as would have liked. But hopefully you were able to you know, see the videos. But I'm sure certainly from that last one, because it is very visual, that you get an idea of how augmented reality can really bring product services to life. I mean, the way IKEA are using it to help people actually visualize what pieces of furniture would like in a certain room or a home is pretty incredible. The one I particularly like is the way Pepsi Max used their campaign to really deliver some incredible experiences to people in bus shelters in London. You know, really, you know, staggering stuff really. So augmented reality, there's huge applications or huge potential for that technology to be used within marketing and helping people interact and get a feel for products before purchase. So you saw Aldi, the way they're actually allowing people to really look and interact with cars. That's particularly important, you know, but when considering the upward trend of people buying cars online and having the confidence to buy cars online. You know, again, I think that's something that we'll really start to see accelerating. There are other uses for augmented reality, and that is training and development, particularly in areas where it's hazardous or difficult to actually fulfill training. So I know there's a lot happening in areas like offshore wind, which is particularly relevant to the Humber region, where you know people are trained in how to maintain offshore wind farms, where they'll probably be working at height, etc., and they're doing that through a virtual environment. That's probably more virtual reality, but these technologies are interlinked. But the pictures that you can see on the screen at the moment are all around maintenance. So actually, if something goes through a machine, the instruction manual can actually be overlaid, can be overlaid through augmented reality and the use of goggles, etc., to help people actually maintain and fix and operate machinery within factory settings. So again, the possibilities are absolutely huge through augmented reality. So hopefully gives you a flavour of some of the applications. But as I say, this will really start to accelerate. Just one other point to make, particularly through the marketing examples, what you probably noticed is that it was all enabled through apps on smartphones. So again, a lot of the hardware people already have in the palm of their hand that you need to deliver some of these experiences. So, you know, as I say, it's probably more accessible than most of us actually think. So questions. How could you use augmented reality to add the wow factor to your marketing? How could it help to demonstrate and amplify your products and services and the way people interact with them? How could it help you to differentiate and deliver a better customer experience? And how could you use augmented reality to help your customers get more out of your products and services, to understand them better, How could you use it? Again, what ideas have you got to drive that forward? Now, that's the end of my formal presentation, as it were. So please feel free to ask any questions now that you may or may not have. I'll say, because of the issue I'm having with the audio settings on the software I'm using at the moment, I should be able to unmute you if you had a question to contribute, but I can't. So if you have that facility directly, feel free to. But if not, please use the chat facility to ask a question. And then what I was going to do was just to give you a bit of a flavour of some of the ongoing support that is available through the Grow Your SME service to support companies to move, hopefully, some of the ideas that you've generated forward. So I'll just see if we've got anything coming through. Just check the question and answer log. Nothing there. Okay, and I do apologise about I'm sure the audio hasn't been ideal, so I apologise apologise for that. So just in terms of what support is available for businesses, there's a program through the Grow My SME service that is essentially called. Well, actually, one thing I'll do, I'll stick to the slides. Just one thing to highlight to you first is that this is one of a series of webinars, and the next webinars the 14th of August. It's all around CRM systems and the importance of effective CRM. So it'll look at specific tools, techniques, and how you can get the best out of a current or a future CRM system. And then the following ones are 21st of August, getting cybersecurity accreditation. Must say, I think that's a really important point to look at. Cybersecurity is a growing issue, and although people aren't necessarily upfront about it for obvious reasons, there's a lot of companies out there who are currently being stung by cyber issues. So if it has affected you, or you want to make sure it doesn't affect you, I think that would be a really, really an essential webinar and follow-on support for anyone. And then another thing, I suppose, it's almost like the Pepsi or Coca-Cola question: Google or Microsoft, which one's for me? So which would you use? So look at the pros and cons, and actually, the benefits of either solution. As I said earlier, even in relation to the technologies that we talked about today, quite often through Google and Microsoft cloud-based platforms, a lot of the technology already exists actually. So part of it is how can you get the most out of Google or Microsoft to make sure that you're utilising it to its fullest extent. To move forward, if there's ideas that you want to explore, or if you have a requirement that you've currently got, so it could be that actually you've recognised that you do need a CRM system, or you do want to explore artificial technology to drive a certain process. We have a range of technology experts who are domain experts and can actually come in and help you develop the technical specs, can help you select the right technology and suppliers. As I mentioned, they can also look at what you're already using and make sure that you're getting the best out of your existing infrastructure to drive what you need to do within your businesses. And then I suppose the other area is we have a range of experts whose job it is to support innovation within your business, digital innovation. So it's not necessarily the adoption of existing technologies, but how can you develop something that's really new and really going to drive your your business forward. So the support available for companies, and the way to access that is, if you haven't done already, you register on the Grow My SME website, which is growmysme.co.uk/inquire-now, and then you can register your benefit, register your interest. And as you'll see, there's a whole range of different support available for companies, and the particular digital expert support available through what we call the Digital Catalyst program. So that's where you can get one-to-one expert support for your business, which is bespoke to your needs. It may be that you already know what you need to do, but you need a bit of support actually making sure the technical specs right, and you're choosing the right technology and the right suppliers. Could be that you're looking to get more out of your existing infrastructure. Could be that you just want someone to come in and have a really good look at your business and to explore what some of the possibilities are. We have the experts who can come in and do that with your business in a very practical, pragmatic manner, as it were. So I will end there. I'm just going to check the time. And there we go. So we've got, how do we get in touch with you? So there's information there for you, Phil. Oh, there we go. So Phil, you've been provided the information. If you want to speak to me directly, but feel more than happy to do so. We can pass on that information. I'm one of the practitioners on the program, but again backed up by a multidiscipline team. You know, as you can imagine, with particularly with digital technology, you know, there's lots of people who need a depth of experience or insight into certain areas. So we bring the optimum team into businesses to support them to make to move things forward and move the dial in terms of performance. So more than happy to have one-to-one conversations with anyone. And I think if someone does want to unmute and ask a question, my colleague Sadia does have the capability to do that now. So if anyone wants to ask a question directly, please indicate it, and Sadia will unmute you. I would take that as a no. So thank you very much for your participation and with me through the insight. Hopefully, you know, it's provided some ideas that you want to move forward. And what I would stress is that there's a lot of support out there at the moment, and more coming on stream. So please interact with the Growth Hub, Grow My SME, and the Digital Catalyst program as well. We would be only too pleased to support you and understand how we can add value to your business. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your days.